Existentialism is typically not seen as a philosophy that will animate the result in a dispute in a court. For instance, if you were a creditor, but if you were paid and you're no longer a creditor, are you still considered a creditor, at least in the eyes of the Bankruptcy Code? That is exactly the existential question that was answered by Bankruptcy Judge Keith Phillips in the wake of the confirmation of a Chapter 11 plan for Toys R Us. Here's what happened. There was an outfit that was a very large, multi-million-dollar pre-petition creditor under one of those infamous first day orders called critical vendor orders. That creditor was paid in full over the course of several weeks. Then during the Chapter 11 case, that same creditor incurred a lot of debt for goods and services it applied or supplied during the Chapter 11 case. But thank goodness for that creditor, its administrative claim was paid in the ordinary course of Chapter 11. Later, sad to say, that company ended up liquidating in Chapter 11. There were big disputes because many administrative creditors were not paid, and then there was a settlement. They doled out some amount of money for the poor old administrative creditors who were stiffed. And this settlement agreement said that any creditor who did not opt out would receive absolution, or I should say release, from any avoidance claims that might be made against that creditor. And of course, a preference claim is an avoidance claim. Well, that's what happened later on. The liquidating trust after Chapter 11 sued that creditor for millions of dollars. Now we're talking about the same creditor who was paid its pre-petition and post-petition debts. The creditor said, well, listen, I got a release under that settlement. The trust said, no, you are no longer a creditor because you were paid in full. And that's where Judge Phillips answered the existential question. Judge Phillips said, in substance, that if you were a creditor and you were paid, you are still a creditor. And he therefore dismissed the preference suit against that creditor who had been paid in full for both its pre-petition and post-petition debt. Now, I must say there is something to be learned from Judge Phillips' decision more simply than this existential debate. Rather, here's what it is. If you are crafting a settlement in any kind of a bankruptcy case and you only want it to apply to creditors who were not paid in full, that's exactly what you have to say. Because if you say that creditors are released, you're releasing everyone, including creditors who were paid in full. So in other words, if you only want to confer some benefit over creditors who were not paid, that's exactly what you have to say. I am Bill Rochelle, the Editor-at-Large for American Bankruptcy Institute. You can read about this decision by Judge Phillips, along with a slew of other interesting cases, in my column on the ABI website. I will, in the meantime, return same time next week with something interesting in the world of bankruptcy. Until then, be well, stay safe, and good day.